Hey guys, so today I will be doing a rhetorical analysis on Ezer Mizyon's article, Battling the Stigmas of Mental Illness. So in his article, he goes over the most general illnesses like OCD, which is short for obsessive compulsive disorder, which affects people of all ages, throwing them into compulsive obsessive cycles, and anxiety that can invoke fear and worry, as well as panic attacks, which gives a feeling of being drowned, as well as bipolar disorder, which consists of mood swings and depressive lows and manic highs, and bulimia and anorexia, which is an emotional disorder that causes someone to distort their body image, resulting in extreme measures to achieve their desired goal, as well as other generals like ADHD and depression. What Mizyon really addresses is his desire to show the world that even with mental illness, we are all the same and do not deserve the stigmas around it. These include employers concerned about hiring mentally ill people, having general statements not wanting to support them, how to fire them with no regards of how it affects others, just basic ignorance and judgment to those who need a little bit more help than others. So, with that being said, let's dive right into how Mizyon uses pathos, ethos, and logos to get his point across. So, as I was saying at the beginning of this video, the goals of this article was to educate the public on the stigmas of mental health, kind of like the ones I brought up, like OCD, depression, ADHD, just the general stigmas, and keep in mind those are not all of them, and how the general stigmas have ruined a lot of opportunities and lives of families and others that were misfortunate to those who were more uneducated on the topic. So here on this slide, you guys can see a little bit of an overview of a lot of the things he covered on his article, in which we will dive in depth to. As well as later on in this video, I'll show you guys a lot of the resources and websites that Ezer Mizyon has created and funded in order to lend out a helping hand to those who have suffered and are still suffering. So with all of that said, let's continue on to how he uses pathos to further get his point across to the intended audience that is reading the article. So continuing on with pathos, the author uses a decent amount. He quotes a family that was affected by the lack of treatment, the lack of attention, the lack of respect towards mental stigma, and he quotes them saying how many times professional staff members cried to him saying, if only he had come to be treated earlier, the prognosis would have been so much better. And I think that goes to show and prove his point that a lot of people that suffer from mental illness, they do not get treatment for it. Therefore, they don't ever get better. He also gave another visual at the end saying, as the seminar closed, the hundreds of participants expressed great satisfaction. And in his seminar, he discussed, like I said in the first PowerPoint, how he did a lot of sources, a lot of funding towards things that people and family members that have been mistreated and who are currently suffering. Continuing on with ethos, this article was enriched with ethos. It was all over the page. Following back to the past few slides that I've showed you guys and talked about, I explained how Mizyon had a lot of resources that he's created, he's funded, he's helped and supported to give out to these families and these people who have continuously suffered. So we are going to dive deep into a lot of the things that he has done. Let's go. So on the side of his article, he has a lot of different categories touching base on a lot of different things. So just kind of going through the list, touching upon the ethos that he's provided, he shows a lot of things he advocates for, which is all separate links actually when you click on the different categories that he's given, as well as he does understand that the coronavirus has impacted a lot of families and a lot of people in their mental health. So he has an entire article on that as well and links to supports. He has things on general tributes that he's done, food distributions to families that have been affected, medical centers, medical referrals for those who don't get the help and don't get the support and the referrals and the encouragement to go and actually get these things. and he also has a lot of things regarding special needs children, including support groups, matches for friends, CPR, things like that. And another thing to notice is that he does have transportation, tributes, and sources to help you find ways to get to these centers. So continuing back to how this all pertains to ethos, as I just explained and as you just saw, there are a lot of sources backing up what he has said and proven that what he's done is there. It is true. He touches things from food to medical care to special needs to transportation, volunteer, and just so many other things. Moving on to logos. Logos was pretty evident throughout the entire article because the author used a lot of ethos in which I covered. Within the first paragraph of his article, he states the theme in which he will be covering, which is mental health. And not only does he give a lot of sources and evidence through everything that he has on the side of his page, he also quotes and gives credits to every single bit of information and evidence provided. Furthermore, something very interesting about this article is that he ties in the logos with the ethos and pathos because he does a very good job providing all the quotes of families and people. So just to do a little recap of the things that Ezer Mizion has done and has stated in his article is that he's created a big brother and sister program, rehabilitative employment centers, a psychological referral team, a network of psychiatrists and psychologists, and a 24-hour crisis hotline. So, in the end, I believe the article, Battling the Stigma of Mental Illness by Ezer Mizion, was a very well-written and well-expressed blog. He does an amazing job creating pathos, ethos, and logos with showing proof of every single one and more. So, thank you to everyone who took the time to follow me along through my rhetorical analysis.